Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Over Sharon podcast. Back with Sharon and Brandon. We have a new tagline, which is we're over Sharon BS. Yeah, because of my initials are because I'm Brandon Smith. So allegedly,
And
everybody.
I'm SB.
Yeah. Same front and back and front. Another thing that'll blow your mind. And today we're talking about more mind-blowing topics, maybe not as mind-blowing as the Mandela. But today we're going to be talking about, actually, it could fit in line with the Mandela because if somebody watched it and they were like heavily attached to this idea of the Mandela, and then they heard us laughing and talking crap, which we weren't talking too much crap, but if they heard our views, they might have spiraled out of control and been like, "How dare you? How dare you?" Listen, Kit Kats used to have dashes. I'll bet my life on it. And they're like flipping out and they're leaving negative comments, which we're not having, by the way. We're just doing a little thought experiment. But I think that's what happens with people though, when they disagree with you. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today is when you encounter some new information or if you encounter somebody who has a different point of view than you, and it's not uh too far off of yours, but there's just some points there that don't agree with your belief system or however you view the world. So it could send you into this whole downward spiral. But we'll get into a little further. Anyway, Sharon, what's going on?
I'm good. I've been having these kind of experiences of people spiraling for alleged could it be's and such.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we like to do. We just like to ask questions here, not really make statements. And that's kind of what we were talking about before we got going, which was if you're speaking to somebody and you're explaining your point of view on something or just sharing new information like we do here on Oversharing. Say you're, hanging out with friends and you're just happen to be oversharing. And sometimes people can get offended by what you're saying and really spiral out of control. And I speak about this with a lot of people, but I was just speaking with this about a friend tonight about spiraling down, but you can also spiral upwards, and that's what we try to
Indeed.
do
Right.
is in a positive way. But we're going to talk about the other way. We're going to talk about spiraling downwards and what could lead to it, what causes it, and maybe what it could tell you about yourself if you are spiraling. Because we all spiral. I spiral. Sharon spirals. I found out that something new that triggers me, and I'm really excited because I kind of thought I was pretty much unoffendable for the most part. Just like words, I'm just like whatever. But I did find out that when somebody says never, I get so triggered. I'm just like, just don't say never.
Never say never.
Yeah, it's so funny, and I'll like derail a conversation just to like prove that point. So now I'm just gonna start letting it go. But yeah, it was so funny. I'm like, wow, this is triggering me. Shout out to my friend Beth. We were having a conversation on full moon night, like I do with friends a lot of times when they call me on the full moon and like, I need to talk. And it's actually been a couple full moons since I've had that I can remember. Maybe I just didn't line it up, but it seemed at the beginning of the year it was a lot heavier. But anyway, so and she was just speaking about somebody in her life and she was just like, never. And I'm like, listen, never. And then I was like, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting triggered here. Right. Because I couldn't let her finish her point because I had to establish my point that you should never say never. Right.
Right.
And what did that do? And then if it kind of derailed her telling me the story, and then she had to felt obligated to kind of defend her side and what she meant. And we were both agreeing about the same thing. Right. So there we go. I just used an example about how I'm a retard, everybody.
Yeah.
So is that
But
what you've been experiencing, Sharon?
yes.
What were you going to say, though? Go ahead.
I was going to just bring up the topic that we ask questions, and this is natural. It's normal. As children, we do this all the time. Lots of children will just constantly stop and ask you a question. Why? What does it do? How does it work? What is, why this? Why that? And unfortunately, through, shall we say, indoctrination camps, we get, shall we say, we're taught not to question things anymore because those things are already known. So just believe, just believe. And it's completely unnatural to us to not question things and not ask questions and pursue further details and information about something. So to me, when someone gets angry or, like you said, gets triggered and then starts on this downward spiral of how dare you question that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just.
It's
I
fine.
had no. What? So when I do that, a lot of times it's just on you, but you don't know that. So I'm just like laughing because I know I'm not on camera. But yeah, I'm just agreeing with you that when I do that, I'm like, yes, you're so right. But anyway,
Oh,
continue.
you weren't on camera? How dare you?
How dare I? Yes. Sometimes I'll just put when you're speaking, you're making a great point. Sometimes I'll just put it on you, or sometimes I just put it on
Aw,
me. Yeah. So
no worries. Well, I don't know what you're doing, so I can't tell. So anyway, when people take that approach, I see it, and it it still surprises me sometimes because with the kind of people that I talk to and their level of awareness of what's going on in this world, when I bring up something that goes against something that they believe really strongly, and I'm just making a conjecture, or I'm making a could it be statement or an allegedly statement, I see the way they respond, and I'm still sometimes surprised. And I guess that could be a triggering thing to me as well, to, how dare you get offended that I'm asking a question?
how dare you? I can't question your whole belief system. You just gotta like freak out.
I can't. Well, I guess I'm woke raping somebody right now. Oops.
Yeah, I guess kind of that's it's funny because the conversation I just did a reading for a friend and we were talking a little bit off air about it and we were speaking about that exactly. How do you know if that's what you're doing is woke raping? And we could kind of explain that again because we talked about that and how it's kind of like a polarizing thing to say if somebody doesn't understand what you mean. And what we mean when we say that is, so if there's different ways to look at the world, there's different points of view. And sometimes you have a point of view that you feel is different, maybe a little, you might see the world in a way where a good example would be like that 7-Eleven was in a part-time job, that whole thing, right? So there's people who have one belief about how it wasn't what the government said, and a lot of people will come around and then they will think it was what the government said for a while, and then they figure out why maybe it wasn't what the government said, and then they kind of come awake to this new knowledge, right? So say JFK, we'll talk about John F. Kennedy. That's a safe one. Like some people will say it was just Lee Harvey Oswald. And then some people wake up to the fact that there couldn't have been because the way the bullet walked, you look at the evidence, there was some kind of conspiracy. And those people are woke to that information. So now there's other people that come around and say, you know what? If there's people that think that Lee Harvey Oswald did it and it was one bullet and they live their life and they're fine, you should just let them think that and leave them alone and not try to wake them up to the fact it wasn't, because you don't understand what you're going to do in their whole life. Like, you only know about your life, but you don't understand the consequences of that action completely. So you should just kind of let it go. But then there's also people in the middle, like us, who say that, hey, maybe you should throw some information out there and just kind of play the Loki character and the trickster and joke around. And then when somebody says, hey, how can you see Venus and Mercury at night if they're supposed to be closer to the sun than us, things like that. But I digress. So yeah, so that's kind of what woke raping is. Woke raping is trying to wake people up and be like, no, you got to understand, I have this sick information. Look, it's the Illuminati. It's this, it's that. they're making the frogs gay. So that might be true. And if you come across some truth in your life, and that could be with anything, you know, it could be with atheism, it could be with people who are Christians, and then you realize that there is no God, you think, in your point of view. And then you could just start going around all these Christians trying to save them, and that you're basically woke raping them. And again, it's not like it's wrong or right. Sometimes it's a good thing to do, because somebody could be headed right toward the buzzsaw and they're about to drink the Kool-Aid. And you're like, dude, you need to wake up before you drink Jim Jones brand Kool-Aid. It doesn't go well. Anyway.
That stuff could kill you.
Yeah. So we were just explaining what woke raping was. So that's what we mean when we say that. And if it's you know, a little polarizing or offending for you, then just go watch, you know, CSI, go watch Law and Order. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that people are afraid. There's a fear of the unknown, right? And there's also this, if they lose everything they've ever known about something that they feel so strongly about, they're so attached to this thought and this way of whatever belief that they have, then if it gets shattered, it's like no stable ground for them. And so they potentially aren't grounded. I don't know if that could be related to like root chakra stuff and issues with that, but there's definitely a fear of the unknown, a fear of being unstable or being on stable ground, and feeling like their world's going to be shattered.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand really with the woke raping, because that's kind of what we don't see. So if you are somebody who believes you see some more truth about something than somebody else, but it's kind of like the tip of the iceberg. And then when you're trying to show them the tip of this iceberg, you're like, wow, look at this. You don't realize what the other side, how it affects their life, this whole belief that you're telling them. I mean, what if they had a family member that, you know, tragically lost their life at the 7-Eleven incident or something? It might totally affect the way they see it. Or if somebody they joined the military because of it and all this stuff, you know, so back again to what you're saying, it has to do with the world that they created them for themselves, really, you know, the way that they see the world, this view, and a lot of it is out of touch with reality and what's really going on. And we all do it, just like you said, you know, we're all guilty of this. So they're building this worldview, this entire thing that's like a house of cards, because it's built on lies that are just comfortable lies that they're told from official sources. So it's easy to kind of let go of your responsibility and abdicate that responsibility to that official source. It's like, well, they're the guy, they're in charge. Well, of course they're going to know what's best for me. And I'm just going to do that so I can go along and believe this lie. And so what you're trying to show them is just a little piece, but we don't realize it's like that bottom card in the house of cards. If that's not true, that whole thing is going to come down. So people will rebel against that. And that's really the idea that you think of in the Matrix, the movie The Matrix, when they talk about how they won't wake a mind past a certain age because people can't handle it. And it's because, like you said, the indoctrination, wherever it is, you know, we go to school, and at the end of the day, really at school, all they're doing is teaching us to receive our validation from exterior sources. You know, they're just telling you basically that what you feel inside is probably wrong. It could be right, but you got to make sure you check with everybody else first. And that leaves us in a state of being not trusting ourselves, you know, not feeling whole. And it goes back to that. So then we cling to these ideas. We'll find somebody out there that's speaking this truth that resonates with us. And then they have this idea, this whole, like a religion, right? You know, whatever it is, this whole belief system, and like a new age movement or something. Say you come across a guru, and then like, I really like what he's saying. It's so true. So everything that he's saying must be true. So it's like, we have to take it all. We have to accept everything he says. And then sooner or later, you know, he's banging your wife. It's like, whoa. But that's really how the cults and all that stuff kind of happen. people slowly just accept it, and they just are kind of lying to themselves. And that's really where the danger comes in. And that's kind of when you might want to start maybe waking people up. I don't know. They got to learn their lessons, but that's what we're talking about now. So oversharing information, then people just not being able to handle it. But yeah.
And like the stuff you were just talking about makes me think of like people's insecurities of their own selves, their own ego and pride getting in the way. Like if somebody else knows I'm a scientist, how dare you know more information than I've gotten that reaction from multiple people that, oh, I'm a so-and-so, I studied this. How do you know more than, how dare you think you know more than me? And, I had a point where I had to one person who was talking to me that way, we were face to face and I had to just say, I got to run. I got to go. You guys have a great rest of your time together. Go, got to go, y'all. Bye. Cause I wasn't going to engage in that. It was too ugly. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. It's tough because, I'm a person who talks a lot. I just want to stop there. So anyway, I'm a person who talks a lot about
a lot.
That was a dig on myself. See, that was a funny joke. Anyway,
I didn't even notice, Brandon.
So I was like, I'm a person who talks a lot. No, I know I talk a lot about these lofty ideas and like putting them into practice and like doing all this stuff. But and having compassion for people, and compassion isn't consent and stuff. But it doesn't mean that at the end of the day, I'm not like also walking this line, and I want to like, I have to deal sometimes with, could it be you have to deal with some rage once in a while, all this stuff. And so I understand how that part's really tough, because when your head face to face confrontating with somebody or confronting somebody, I'm making up words again.
Confrontating.
When you're confrontating with people, write that one down. It's tough though, because you're like in a reactive state. So basically you're doing the same thing that they are, really. Like we fall into that thing because we know we have this point and we understand that we're right. We've proven it. We've done, been through the fire, all this stuff. And it's like, but if we just say it and we just do it right, and the best thing, like you said, is to kind of just back out of that situation maybe. Or, I mean, if you're like a superstar, which I probably wouldn't be able to do, you're just like, yeah, you're probably right. And you just kind of like, yeah, that's like next level stuff. But
that's something you would do. You do that sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes I do that. But then there's other times when it's certain things that it's just too hard because of the things I identify with. So say it was like about the war in Afghanistan, like, and somebody's like trying to argue with me and say they weren't even in the military. I'd be like, not that I was in Afghanistan, but then again, say I was arguing with somebody who'd been in Afghanistan, they'd be like, you weren't even there. But so it's just these different points of view and the reasons we think we're validated. So because we think we're validated from an exterior source, again, we think we have just full carte blanche to just go for it. Like we have our validation, where it's more of, if we right, we don't have to prove we're right. If we know it, who cares? And again, that's hard to do. So you did the right thing in that situation, because at your level of awareness, you're like, let me just get the F out of here because it's going to be the best thing for the situation. And you did the right thing. And that's probably what I would have done too in most situations.
And then, it was
the
best thing, because the funny part was, it was a person that's relatively close to me. And it was about the current cocoa business going on right now. That's been going on for a long time. Shout out to my friend Kella from Recalibrate on YouTube, her podcast. But that's what she calls it. She calls it cocoa. And she calls it the cocoa juice. So if I use that terminology, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about the sniffles and the antidote. that's being allegedly forced on people. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So
antidote.
Yeah.
Why won't you take the antidote?
Antidote.
Well, sir, I'd love to take your antidote, but anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So it was a point in time where it was early on when all these things were kind of coming to light. Or I'm going to guess it was around early 2020 or something, or mid 2020. And I just, I walked away and I just had to let it go, and maybe didn't talk to them for a little while because I didn't want to like push on anybody's buttons and step on any toes. And I didn't want to send them anything about anything because I'm not going to, again, like if you're already feeling threatened and upset about something, then I'm not going to push it. I mean, at least that time. Maybe there are times when I've done it and I probably shouldn't have pushed it, but that's just me and my I need to work on things. But this individual came back later on expressing that, oh hex no, there was nobody going to give them the cocoa juice. And I was surprised, about, because the first part was about the whole, wearing of muzzles,
Your beautiful
and
smiling face
being covered.
So originally
exactly.
what you're saying is you had, when you were speaking with this person, you wanted to go in public and places and show your beautiful smiling face, and they were disagreeing. They said, no, you should cover your face. And now they're saying, we don't want this antidote. So they're like they're kind of on your side now.
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
It was kind of like that.
What do you think it was that changed your mind?
I think there's a deep core value system that trusts self, that trusts nature. But at the time, at the first time, it was like a scare, and that person was allowing others to like speak into that. And so it, instead of listening to self and listening to nature, and that person decided to listen to the other voices. And
was there a time that you had those voices at 2020 at all speaking to you, and you had the fear that you had to battle it? Like,
I don't want to sound like, like I know it all or anything. But I want to say it was late 2019, early 2020. I saw all this coming because I'd heard of Event 201, and I just knew what was coming. Don't ask me how I knew. I just knew. So when the whole covering of smiles was starting to happen, I knew that if I were to encounter that in my place of work, that and or being forced to take some sort of cocoa juice, I knew that I was going to be done with that, and I was not going to participate. So I was already mentally aware, mentally prepared. And because I want to say since about 2011, 2012, I have this innate, like, I don't know if it's innate or whatever, but I have this inner knowledge that nature has a cure to everything. I've not always had that, but I can say that it's been there for a long time. And maybe it was always there, but I didn't come to the awareness till about 2011, 2012, when I changed my lifestyle and I started eating clean. I was looking at ingredient labels, and I was, eating out less, as best I could. I still liked eating out at the time, but, just being more aware and more careful with my diet and the things I was putting in my body and on my body, on my skin, all that stuff. So, and I just thought to myself, if we live in this amazing world that a creator, whoever the creator is, created our bodies and their amazing abilities to heal and to recuperate, why wouldn't nature offer us, all the answers? And I was like, the Chinese have ancient Chinese medicine, the Ayurveda people, the Indians have Ayurveda, or is it Ayurvedic stuff? There's just a lot of stuff out there. And I just knew it was all natural. Like that was always kind of my, well, I don't want to say always, because I don't want to say always or never, but ever since about 20.
How dare you? You're triggering me. Sorry, I'm derailing the podcast. You're doing
You
lovely.
always do that, Brandon. You never do that. Just kidding.
All right,
so you okay? I'm just exposing you to it so you can.
How dare you? Oh, now I'm double triggered.
I know. You poor thing.
Go ahead. Finish what you're saying. That was great. I don't want to already.
Yeah. So just to answer your question about, did I ever get any of those feelings of pressure or anybody trying to speak into my life about, should I do this or should I not do this? I had like this wall and I blocked all of it. I did not participate, and I didn't let anybody even try to tell me that they knew better than me for my own body.
Now, did you have any fear? I love that, by the way. That's beautiful. Did you have any fear? I don't know if we talked about this before. I think we might have, but did you have any fear that they could have been like a bioweapon or something? Because they were saying that a lot earlier, and then that there could have been something out there and that maybe you should wear a mask at all. Did you have any of that?
No, I never worried. Never.
That's great. Because
I didn't worry. It just didn't even dawn on me, because I thought, how could they do something against nature?
Yeah.
If my body can handle things, if my body is healthy, then my body can handle things. So if a pathogen or something, alleged pathogen, comes near me or touches me or whatever, my healthy body knows what to do. I'm not worried. It's people who are not healthy, dare I say, how dare I?
How dare
that
you?
Might have to,
we're canceled,
like, work on something, some sort of detoxing abilities of their body so that they can prepare their bodies to push all those things out that they encounter. Mm-hmm. And that's coming. Okay, so we're getting into the topic that we wanted to discuss, which is terrain versus germ theory. Well, I don't like to call it terrain theory because I don't think it's a theory. I think it's a fact. But I'm just, let's just say, could it be that it's...
Could it be? So what exactly are you talking about, Sharon, for those who aren't familiar with where you're going with this?
Well, there's a lot of information out there by people like Crow has done episodes with, Clive DeCarl has done episodes with Amanda Vollmer. There was this one episode I remember where they were talking about the Pasteur versus the Béchamp, the other guy. And Pasteur was saying, no, it's the germs, they're going to kill you. And Béchamp was basically saying, keep your body, your terrain, keep that healthy, and then you're healthy, because you'll be able to push all that stuff out. So I'm just speaking in very, I'm paraphrasing because I don't know exactly what they said, but that's basically the gist of. Yeah. So Pasteur was talking about germ theory,
And hang on really
alleging.
quick before, because just in case, me and you are geniuses, but and most of our audience are geniuses, but maybe there might be someone who stumbles across this who's not. So who's Pasteur? Who do you mean when you talk about that and all that stuff?
These people were scientists. Pasteur was a scientist, and so was
Louis Pasteur.
Louis Pasteur.
Louis
Yeah.
Pasteur, and that's go ahead.
Yes. I was just to spell it for people. Pasteur, I believe is what it is. So that's
Yes.
the word pasteurization actually comes from his name, because God forbid that you drink raw milk that came straight from the cow, which is normal, or the goat, or whatever kind of milk you drink. God forbid you drink it, because there could be things in there that could hurt you. God forbid.
Pathogens.
So pathogens.
So that's actually great that you say that, because that's exactly the crux of it all. So pasteurization, because Louis Pasteur always said that there are some kind of pathogens. There's this viruses or whatever it is. He might not use the word viruses, but he's just saying there's these things that will get you sick, and you pass them from person to person. And then so now what they did was whoever came up with this brilliant idea and said, hey, you can get sick from a cow, so we got to boil all this stuff. And then so what happens is all of your milk and cheese and all this stuff in this country and butter, it's all boiled. And nobody ever really talks about nutrition and what that does to the fat and what that does after you eat it. It does a cow drink a milk from its mom's teat after it's been boiled? Do humans do like? So this is this unnatural thing that's going on, and
exactly.
Yeah, and Anyway, so that's what Louis Pasteur in a nutshell. And then to get more into the terrain theory thing about it is, if you look into it, Louis Pasteur actually recanted on his deathbed a lot of the things that he was saying, and he was talking about how there's different agendas at work, and how when you can use fear and all this stuff, and you could scare people and all this, to divide them. So anyway, that's just a little bit of information, but look it up on your own, guys. We're oversharing a little bit. We're not making any claims here. That's what we heard. I never met Louis Pasteur. He could have not even been a real person, but from what we know, he recanted because he just couldn't live with the lies. But now guess what? They boil all the milk and they put his name on it.
Yeah. And the terrain idea is that, as I was saying earlier, is that your body itself knows what to do. As long as it's healthy, it knows what to do when something it does encounter that it doesn't recognize or doesn't think that the body needs. It will work on expelling it. And sometimes, dare I bring up the topic of things that make people spiral?
I just really, really quickly, I just wanted to add in there, because that for some reason I got this idea to say this again. It popped into my head. Now, we were talking about covering your face and all this, and how if you're healthy that your body can handle things. Now, this doesn't mean your body can handle everything. So if you're somewhere and there's people coughing and blood's coming out of their face and they're dying. Okay. Now, if you're this superhero of strength and health, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to stop that. That could be some kind of gas, CS, whatever. There are things that exist that can be very toxic and harmful and kill you right on site. Right. But what I'm talking about is using your brain, looking at what's going on around you. If you see reports from the TV that are telling you one thing and all this is danger, but then you're looking around and you talk to people and you see it's not really what they're saying, that's what we're talking about. Right. So we're not trying to say woo woo, oh, just because you put everything right, you'll be fine and just march right into the middle of it. No, that's not what we're saying. And I don't think that anyone thinks that, but for some reason, I just wanted people to know, just because there might be people saying, well, oh, you just think if you just eat right, you'll be fine. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, I think that, but we're not telling you that. But again, just use your common sense. Anyway, Sharon.
That was a disclaimer, everyone.
Yeah.
This is not medical advice.
Disclaimer. Yeah, we're just oversharing. This is what we've learned. And I can say that if you go back on the Brandon Bonanza podcast, that I have spoken with people who claim to be doctors. I mean, I wasn't there when they graduated, but they are doctors. No, I'm just kidding. They're doctors, and they've talked a lot about terrain theory. We had Andy Kaufman on he was talking about that. And then also Thomas Cowan, Dr. Thomas Cowan was talking about it. And somebody's wrote a book about it, and he talks a lot about Louis Pasteur and stuff like that. And he has a really great analogy about it also. Check out that video, guys. It's on my channel. Just go back if you go into the roundtable playlist on the Brandon Bonanza podcast, or on the Brandon Bonanza YouTube channel, you'll see it there.
Cool. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the terrain side, allegedly, the germ theory says that these things that we encounter, for example, viruses, are, you know, they claim that they're like these things that can do this and that, and they can harm you, and they can, I don't know, attack you. I don't know. But the point is that they make them seem like they're living things when they're not. And I know people are going to, you know, people who.
Well, we just talked about spiraling, right? And
yeah, scientists.
Spiral.
Yeah.
So what we could say is, when we talk about things like this, we're attacking a whole belief system, right? It's the way we were raised. It's everything that's ever been on the television and the movies. They say that when you cough, you get sick, you're going to get somebody sick. And when you're growing up, it seems to be that way, because you get sick and everybody around you gets sick. It seems that something's going around the office, something's going around school. So it just seems like it could be right. And it seems like, you know, that's all the evidence you've seen, that you've grown up with. But then when you're approached with this whole other point of view, it goes against everything you've ever heard. So it could be very jarring to you. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about here. But if you have the ability to still listen and to entertain the idea, and maybe we're crazy, you know, maybe it's just, you could just look at it as like science fiction and fiction. But what terrain theory really is saying is that
terrain
fact. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. So,
the terrain idea.
Everybody knows about germ theory. You know, you get sick, you have a germ, right? We'll talk about viruses. And technically, even in the mainstream, the virus, they say it's just a strand of protein. Technically, it's not even alive. It's just dead, but somehow it can reproduce. So we won't get into how crazy that sounds, but it does make sense, right? So you're thinking, if I'm sick and then people are getting sick around me, that's what I've ever seen and I found. But terrain theory, what they're saying is that there could be toxins in your environment, there could be toxins in your body that are causing you to have this reaction. And what people say are viruses, people that talk about terrain theory will say that they're exosomes. And what happens is, your cells are breaking up, but what the exosomes are actually surrounding the toxins, and they're trying to deal with that, and it's breaking cells up. So it looks like it's causing it, but the exosomes are actually there to kind of help you. And the analogy that they use is, if you were to come across a fire, like a house fire, and you saw fire trucks, and every time you saw a fire, you went to see and you saw fire trucks, and then you came under the false assumption that the fire trucks are causing the fires. And that's kind of where the misdirection or the misinformation or the misunderstanding falls, is that. And it's that. So people say, well, then if I get sick, how does somebody else get sick? That can't be right, because I know I got the flu and someone else got it. Well, this is what they're saying. Could it be that because of maybe the food that you eat or a toxin in your environment? There's a lot of stuff, you know, I talked with Kaylee from Australia, and we've talked about all the different toxic chemicals that are in all the stuff we use in your, you know, your lotions and your hair spray and in your shampoo and stuff and in your soap. So could it be all this stuff you're doing it anyway, right? So you're putting this load of toxins on, but it's nothing that's too crazy. You're able to do it, and it doesn't decapacitate you for that day, but it's like a buildup. And then when the seasons come, it's a seasonal change. And then all of a sudden, instead of being hot all the time, it's cold. So now your body's going through this extra stress. So then, because of the stress and because of the toxins, your body now has to deal with it more. It can't fight off the toxins like it used to. It's weakened. And in that weakened state, you become even weaker. And then your body starts to deal with these toxins, and it breaks down, and you get exosomes. And then they're like, well, then why is everyone else doing it? Well, it could be some kind of sympathetic response. Again, we're not
We're
experts.
social beings.
Yeah, we're social beings. And Sharon and I aren't experts in this. It's just what we've seen and come across, and we're just oversharing our opinion and our views here. But it's kind of like a sneeze or I'm sorry, a yawn, a sneeze, a yawn. I was thinking, God bless you. So when somebody yawns, when somebody yawns and then another person yawns, or like a cat yawns and you yawn, yawning a lot of times people say could be a signal that everything is kind of cool. It's okay to relax. There's no danger in the area. So one animal yawn and then relax, and then it kind of relaxes everybody else. Well, in that same way, what if there was danger in your area? What if there was a toxin in your area? So your body is exuding this, and then again, I don't know how this works, but somehow you have that sympathetic response with somebody else because they realize that. So your bodies are trying to send everybody a message that there's this toxin that you're either consuming or it's in your area. Maybe there's something in your ceiling. I don't know how it exactly works, but it's more like that. Maybe there's mold and it's just screwing you up. Yeah.
It's about, I think I've heard it described as you're in the same surroundings and doing the same kind of things as the people around you. So you're exposing yourself to very similar things. And when, like you said, the seasonal change comes around, your body and a lot of other people's bodies also go into this detox. And so basically all it is a detox. And I've heard that viruses are actually soaps because they're actually cleansing and picking up those toxins to clean them out, to take them out of the system, take them out of the body. And there was a really, really good Crow episode with Amanda Vollmer. I think it's one of my favorites, if it's not the favorite. It's episode 309. And she talks about how these toxins get expressed when they're being requested to come out. When they're requested to come out by something. For example, she talks about DMSO, which is a product that is, I believe it's a byproduct of some sort of paper making thing. But anyway, it's actually a detoxifier for the body. It's a very strong detoxifier for the body. And the way she explains it, basically, it's just really good. She explains
You want to play it? You want to play a part of it? Oops. We could play some of it if you want. Where does it start? 351?
Start around.
You'll find over time.
Sorry, go ahead.
Start around 2 minutes 30.
All right, I'll turn it down first, and then we'll do that. Maybe it's not going to cooperate. 2:30. There we go. Maybe not.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
The skin is.
And there we go.
In an area where they would tell you that a lot of cold sores are a form of herpes, and that there are forms of herpes you can never get rid of. Now, within the other side of my family, people who got out in the sun would always get cold sores if they got too much sun. What I read in the book is that if you apply the DMSO to the cold sore repetitively, that often the toxin on the nerve ending will express out and you might never get that again. So, I mean, what are we saying here? Are there forms of herpes that are considered incurable that are really curable?
Nah, they're a bunch of lies. I tell you, it's just mostly what you read. If it's from the medical establishment, just start off with it's a lie and then you're better off, right? So,
I'm with you.
Wait, who's telling lies?
Yeah, right. So everything's inverted and they make up these stories that it's caused by some sort of, invisible thing and it's forever with you. And how dare you kiss someone or have sexual relations and you be a.
I just want to pause here to give some commentary too. And it is funny because they might even bring this up, but it's like, wouldn't everybody have herpes? Like, how would you, if it was spread by kissing?
Exactly.
And it's stuff. It's kind of like,
getting
especially
yeah. Good. No, I was just going to say, like, people kiss their children And you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, not on the mouth, but like people, you're close enough
Unless you're Tom
proximity.
Brady. Yeah, it's
Oh,
it.
geez.
Yeah, but again, if it is supposed to be spread the way that they say, yeah,
Free being, how
Exactly.
dare you do that? Because
how
you're
dare
gonna
you?
you're gonna get some strange, you're gonna catch some venereal disease or something like that. But actually, none of these so-called illnesses are contagious. You don't get it from anybody. You make it, and what happens generally is your lymphatic system and your skin are the main routes of acquiring the waste inside your body and collaborating with the liver and the blood and getting them pushed out. And often the skin is the huge way through perspiration and sweat and through eruptions. That's how it gets out these things. If it's too
Oh
volatile,
Jesus!
it's a metal, it's too volatile to actually go back into the blood and to circulate into the liver and be detoxed by the enzyme systems of the liver. It's just much easier to get out through the skin. That's why you get acne. That's why you get boils. You get all kinds of different sorts of eruptions. They're all based on the body removing waste particles. And
all right, so again, we'll give a little more commentary here. So it seems that what's going on, exactly what you're saying, is all these toxins that are in our environment we eat, and we can, why don't we talk about a little bit of these toxins? Because just to clarify for people, think about the food that we eat. A lot of times, the processed food, the chemicals that they put into them, and then also some of the heavy metals that are in our environment. Certain medical procedures that involve a hypodermic needle have been known to have heavy metals in them, and it's not even like it's some kind of conspiracy theory. They talk about it. It's just an adjuvant. They need them. It's put in there so your body will have a reaction, apparently, so it will accept that's what they say. So anyway, but it's stuff like this, and it builds up in the body, and it's really hard to detoxify it, like she was saying, through the liver. So it'll get detoxified through the skin. And again, when is this going to happen? It's held at bay until you hit a moment of high stress. And if you're going around and you're having a lot of sex and you're not sleeping that well and you're working really hard, I know this stuff like that can happen, and I actually get cold sores on my lips sometimes when after I have like very stressful weeks or situations. I mean, it's been a while, because the world's perfect now for me. So, but when it wasn't so perfect, no, it still happens. I mean, but so I definitely want to look into detoxifying stuff, because I'm sure I have a bunch of toxins. I mean, remnants.
You probably have remnants of whatever's there.
Yeah.
That you could still, you could still use some getting cleansed.
If you get certain types of chemicals, petrochemicals, oils, and metals inside the lymphatic chambers or inside the nerve endings, or even from into the nerve root, then you'll get these eruptions that they call ulcers or herpes, where they'll come out of the dermatome. A dermatome is basically just a section of nerves that you can trace back to a specific spinal process or spinous segment, right? And so you can actually map. They have the whole body mapped as per where the nerves, lead back into, and that expression can happen again and again if the toxicity in that area is quite high. So you'll get a lot of expression coming out here and there, and there'll be different triggers for when the body thinks it's appropriate for removal. Maybe during sun exposure, there's enough UV involvement that says, hey, we just made some vitamin D, guys. Yeah, awesome. Let's use that. Okay, cool. Let's get this metal.
All right, I think so. We pretty much got an idea there. I just want to play a little bit of that. But yeah, I think you're spot on with what you said. And I think people kind of have an idea now what we mean by terrain theory. And then also if they say, well, then what about herpes? All right, well, then listen to that episode, guys. Could it be, it could, maybe it's a combination of both somehow. We're just not exactly sure. But what we're saying is the other side that we didn't talk about. If you really look deep enough, could it be that there really is no evidence to support the claims that germ theory is making? They've really, if you look about it, like even during the Spanish flu, whatever that was in 1919, there's a book written about that, how it's called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg, that was his name, I think. But anyway, just look up The Invisible Rainbow. And they talk about how they tried doing experiments back then where they would try people, like one person getting another person sick, or like a horse getting someone sick, and they'd like take snot and they'd inject it and they'd do all this crazy things. And some people just they weren't getting sick that way. So but again, we don't hear about all this stuff. So that if you put that together, that lack of evidence that this germ theory has against these ideas of terrain theory, there's really something there, I feel, in my opinion, like to look at, but again, people spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about caring for your own body. This has nothing to do with anyone else. To me, I see that it screams like, I'm the victim. The germ got me and it's your fault. It's someone else's fault.
You got me sick. How many times has somebody said, how many times have you said, oh, my kids got me sick, or they got me sick, or at work they got me sick? And what are you doing?
Like victim consciousness.
And guess what? You ate McDonald's. See, I'm pointing myself because I used to eat McDonald's and all this crap. It was you that accepted the hypodermic needle, whatever. It was you that all this stuff, whatever. I don't want to trigger more people, but yeah.
It's
whatever
like,
it was.
Yeah, it's blaming others for the lack of care for your own body.
Yeah. I think
and
we nailed it.
We see it right now with the whole cocoa stuff that's going on.
Yeah, because bringing it back to covering your beautiful smiling face, it's everyone else. You're the carrier. You're going to get people sick. You're the one who's the spreader. You are the super spreader, the SS. It's this evil double S snake thing, whatever. Anyway, but it's like it's everybody else. It's not you. And then if you're not participating in it, then you're the bad guy. So yeah, it's a little crazy, but hey.
Earlier, you were mentioning before we recorded, you mentioned James True and something he said about the collective unconscious. Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So in regards to terrain theory and germ theory, well, I think you really nailed it when we talked about this earlier too, about the victim consciousness. And it kind of goes back to how you view yourself in the world, and how everybody's kind of viewing, not everybody, but a large portion of people are viewing themselves. And if you're thinking about terrain theory versus germ theory, again, we're going back to the germ theory thing, 2020 regulations, all this stuff. And it's all about pointing the finger. And it goes back to, I guess you could say, like the ego, and how people view themselves in the world. And when this, I don't want to keep her, but when this thing happened in 2020, a lot of people, in my view, seemed to kind of play along with what was going on like it was a show. And in that way, it's just like the germ theory. And because they weren't looking at inside at their own behaviors, they weren't looking at things that they might have been doing to get themselves sick. They weren't looking at the food they were eating. They were looking at everyone else and pointing the finger. And if you break it down that way, you're kind of just thinking, a person that's doing that is just putting themselves at the center of the universe. They're total ego mode. And terrain theory is really more about you and going inside and what am I doing and where am I putting myself and where do I live and how's my situation look and is there mold and what am I eating on a daily basis? What am I thinking? Because your thoughts are huge. We didn't even talk about that at all. I mean, your thoughts. Yeah, that's really, and we kind of did because you talked about if you're viewing yourself as a victim, but to bring it to a broader topic, it's really, what are you thinking on a daily basis? Your thoughts are like food for your brain, kind of, in a way.
And that makes me think of the egregore and like just the collective people, like lots of people putting their a conscious effort in their minds, believing something. they make it true to some extent.
Yeah, because of the way that belief works. If you believe something, I'll put it this way, money, right? Money, American US dollars are just paper. At the end of the day, they're just paper. And our belief in them and everyone else's belief in them is what makes you giving somebody a piece of paper, them giving you a car or giving you whatever it is. All these things are goods. If you think about how things used to work, it was like a barter system. You give me some eggs and I give you some fruit. But now we have this really cool, convenient placeholder for that because we don't all have a big, fridge in our car to carry around in our wallet. So we all agreed on that. And that's the way belief works. So now if there's something that's coming out that there's not a lot of evidence for, but people are believing it and they're going along with it, then it does become real to a certain extent, just like money's real.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what she means exactly by an egregore, or something that becomes real out there in society. And that's everybody that's listening to this knows exactly what we're talking about. We're dealing with something that is real.
Yeah. So I just always go back to, like Crow says, there is no lie in nature. And I think of natural law and how that applies. I think of our ancestors and how they might have lived and what, you had probably a shaman in the village who knew about herbs and what herbs, helped do what. And you didn't need a freaking needle injected into you to put something foreign into your body.
Yeah. Because what is that really ultimately at the end of the day?
That was made in a lab.
Yeah. At the end of the day, what is that really? If you look at it, that's saying that I don't trust nature. I don't trust my body. I don't trust myself. I need an authority figure. I need an external source to come up with a cure that's outside of nature. I mean, everything's inside of nature, but ostensibly it's like outside of nature, right? It's this lab created creation that's going to save us. So at the end of the day, you're just not trusting the plan. You're saying that, no, this isn't right. I know better. Men know better than nature, or whatever kind of thing is what you're doing. So even philosophically, you're going against nature when you're doing this. An argument could be made that that's what you're doing. So if that's the case, and if it's the case that you have this unconscious part of you that realizes everything that's going on, that's an observer, that part of you is going to like lose their mind and gonna could it be make you feel all kinds of anxiety and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's really what it is. And we talk about, and I always talk about how the ultimate sin, I believe, I'm starting to really believe, is worry. The ultimate sin is just despair, thinking that things aren't going to work out. So we got this far,
Yep.
So, we as a race got this far as a human race. I don't think we're going to now somehow require some artificial treatment to exist as a race of free people, like, anyway, I don't want to turn that into this, but yeah. So yeah, what else do we got about anything else about terrain theory?
I think we covered my notes.
All right. I think that was a pretty good episode. The other thing we were going to talk about, maybe we could talk about another time. Because it was pretty silly. So we'll just give people, maybe we'll do a point, whatever, and then talk about that, because that was funny. But I think that this was what we did here was really good, and I don't want to like distract people, and we'll just keep them wanting more. But anyway, guys, listen, if you think that there was a president, no, let's talk about it, because I think it fits in really well with this, because the way society
is, it causes people to spiral, perhaps.
Yeah, it could cause people to spiral, and also it's just so hilarious. Okay, so the idea is a former president of ours that was very boisterous and probably orange. You think it's possible that he was a woman or a lesbian, like not actually a man? And we're just, this is like a thought experiment, again, to be funny, because, I'm a comedian and I'm so hilarious. So what do you think if DT Mr. Trunk was actually like, lesbian. And the reason why we talk about this is because he doesn't, or the person, this person, DT, we've never seen him with any facial hair in any pictures. Like, he's never had a 5 o'clock shadow. He's never been. No, I mean, does he just shave every morning, like religiously? Does he electronically? Did he have all his facial hair removed? Like, so
Electronic.
Okay. And I know people are like, how dare you say that? But think about this, because we were talking about the spiraling. So just let's go on a thought experiment. Me and Sharon are going to overshare her a little bit. Because
wait, before you say that,
isn't
there a quote about like, you can always entertain a thought without like fully accepting it or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing wrong with, like, that's actually very healthy.
That is a quote.
I don't know the quote.
The quote goes, quote, isn't there a quote that says something about entertaining an idea and you don't have to believe it? Quote, Sharon. There you go.
Yeah, that's me.
That's her new quote. Again, I love it. So yeah, that's so true. It's like, let's just have a thought experiment and we're just going to tell a funny story because, well, somebody be like, well, yeah, that's just stupid. Why? But okay. So, but how did this person get elected? Who did they run against? Hillary Clinton, right? So, and everyone's like, it's going to be the first woman president, right? And it's not going to be, and you hate women. And then as soon as this person, DT, got elected, there was a women's march of women. So how hilarious would it be if all those 10 million, where it was million, whatever million women marched because they said that this person is sexist, but it was actually a woman.
Born one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything that would be more hilarious and more of like a FU to people who just aren't paying attention, and it's like, because at the end of the day, I really think there's a Loki aspect to whoever might think that they're in control, and these people in like Illuminati and secret societies and whatever. One of them, maybe the one at the top, is an ultimate Loki trickster that just likes to screw with people. So they're like, hey, listen, let's run a woman against a woman and we'll have everyone mad because they think it's a man, like,
how dare I say, what if the woman was running against a man?
Yeah, I guess Hillary Clinton could be a dude. I mean, I'm so glad.
That would be funnier too.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, guys, what do you think? Put some comments below. Let us know what you think. And, I'm sure you're spiraling because you're probably all Trump fans, but thank you. I think that it is kind of hilarious because, yeah, man, everyone's freaking out about that. And then it's a woman. Yeah. So anyway, but those are the old psyops. The new psyops are on to bigger and better things. Apparently somebody went to go get ice cream in the middle of a speech or something. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, so our current president apparently, so that's another thing before we end, we could talk about, because, everybody talks about our current president, how he's just probably everyone thinks he's like not the smartest person. I'll just say that, right? Not everybody, but there's a group of people who think he's like a moron, right? Of course.
Or he could be not the president, but wearing like a silicone mask that looks like the president with little pull-off tabs at the ears. Yeah. Perhaps. Who knows? Well,
this is the thing, this is another thing. I'm glad you bring that up, because you ever watch, well, you probably haven't because you grew up under,
because I don't watch anything.
But if anyone's a fan of like Jackass, that show and that movie, there's a part, and I think it was one of the movies where they put on all these old masks and they just screw with people so they think they're old men, but they don't look like anyone else. They just look like themselves, but older. And I'm like, and you know how we always talk about people are supposed to live to 120, 130 and all this stuff. Well, if the people in control know that, what if they're really just not that old looking? So they have to put these faces on to make them look old and then act like total bumbling fools when they're probably just like actors, because if you're a comedian and you don't really have like a moral compass and you just don't care or whatever it is, maybe they think they're being moral at the end of the day, Like, wouldn't that be the ultimate role? You could get up in front of everybody. Look at Donald Trump. He was definitely a comedian. You could just say that outright. Like, he was
One
even,
of the best comedians.
yeah, he was hilarious, right? I mean, even though he was scary, it was, whatever, but it was still it. But so the same thing, even George W. Bush, like, he just goes up there and gets to act silly as president, but before president, he's very well spoken. When he gives a speech after president, he's really funny. He's on Jimmy Fallon and hanging out with all these guys, but when he's president, he's a bumbling fool. If it's just an act, it's a gig.
He misunderestimated.
That's what I mean. And that's one of the things, like even Sun Tzu, The Art of War, like, never misunderestimate your enemy. That's the worst thing you could do. So I think we could close out on that. But is there anything you want to add in about any of that stuff? And then we'll close.
I just think it's a funny thing to speculate on.
Yeah.
Like you. Could it be?
Yeah, he's definitely a woman. All right, everybody. He is definitely a woman. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even. So, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you made it this far, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, overshare this episode with everybody you know. Subscribe to the Brandon Bonanza. We're at like 339 or something. So I think if we get to 1,000, I can actually. No, I could already live stream. We could do extra things. But anyway, just subscribe, share it to all your friends. This is the best news show you've ever heard. I mean, come on. It's got to be. Could it be?
Could it be?
People are spiraling right now. We're just speculating, guys. Possibly this is the best news show you've ever heard. If you want more, you can find us morelawsmoreproblems.com. You can email me at brandon@comedylol.com. Shoot me an email. Leave some comments below. Let us know how spiraled you got, up or down. Let us know how you feel. And until next time.
And remember, if you're not over Sharon, Brandon.
Yeah, not Karen.
That's right.
Right? Is that right? Over Sharon BS. I don't know. All right, guys. Bye.